Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest in the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to Apply. All right, so today is a very special episode. We're bringing back onto the show Kevin Campbell, who is a Chief Executive Officer over at Synity. And also, I'm proud to announce an author in our recently released Business Leaders Volume 10 of our best-selling Business Leaders series. I'm happy to announce. First off, Kevin, hey, I just want to say welcome back to the show.
Thanks. And thanks for having me. It's always great to be here and talk with you, Adam.
All right, so we got a whole lot to cover today. Like, I'm excited to get into the content. Of course, we're going to talk about the book, of course, and I want to get into that as well. But we'll start this episode the way that we start them all, with our Mission Matters Minute. I know you know the drill. So, Kevin, we at Mission Matters, we amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. That's our mission. Kevin, what mission matters to you?
Well, the mission that matters to me is about, making sure that data, which is really the fundamental building block of all business, the data is accurate, reliable, and trustworthy. That's the mission that matters. In addition, of course, to, being the dad of my kids and making that happen.
It's great. Love bringing on mission-based individuals to share, why they do what they do, how they're doing it, and really what we can all learn from that so that we all grow together. So great having you back on. And just to kick us off and to get into this book. So Life and Business Lessons from a CEO and Dad of 7. So lots of different ways you could have approached this particular content. I found it pretty unique that you brought in, the family part and the business part. Like, tell us a little bit more about the angle and why.
I've learned a lot over the years, and I'm fortunate to have a lot of great mentors. And if I could spend a minute, I'd just say, since we published the book, one of my original mentors and a role model for me, my dad, passed away during that time. And, so I dedicate what we did in the book and the chapter in the book to him because he taught me a lot of the stuff. And he always taught me about lifelong learning, right? And I'm always trying to learn, and I'm always trying to say, what have I experienced that I can learn from or that I can teach other people, right? And the most, poignant thing for my dad was at his funeral service, the pastor said, I was most impressed with your dad when he said to me, my dad was 86 at the time. He said to me, hey, pastor, you're going to have to teach me how to die because I don't know how to do that. And that just gave me goosebumps and made me think about the fact that, we're always on a journey to learn. So I'm thinking about what can I pass on to everybody else that I've learned. And I don't believe that I'm a special individual or I've got any magic formulas. But so I looked at, what have I learned as a CEO? And I said, what did having 7 kids also teach me and what the parallels are? Now, forget about the joking parallels I have that, raising young kids is just like raising a young company, right? But it really was a chance for me to bring out and try to humanize some of the lessons that we've learned along the way and try to tell the story in a way that makes sense.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And of course, sorry to hear about your dad, but I am glad that you were able to honor him and to honor his legacy through this as well. So great and happy to be part of that story with you. So looking at this concept of being really, let's just say a lifelong learner. Now, just circling back to Synity for a bit, you've held a lot of roles, been at the helm of, you're at the helm of a large company. What does that mean in context to, what you do on a day-to-day at Synity?
So, what I do, and it goes back to some of my lessons learned and stuff like that. So first, a big thing with me is mentors. And I talked about my dad, but I've had other mentors as we had along the way. And I recently had one of the people that works in my organization say, hey, would you be my mentor? And I always say yes to those requests.
Yeah.
And she said, I want to learn how to be a CEO. So this is a woman who's maybe 25, 26 that says, I want to be a CEO. And so, it's easy to say, I don't have time for that. I can't do that. I can't do anything. But what I really said, and this is where it all relates, is I am gifted to have had great mentors and still have great mentors along the way. So what's our job when we've been given gifts is to pass those gifts on to other people. And so what I say is, I can't mentor or talk to every single person, just like you're doing with with your podcasts and the books here. But I can try to impact some people and I can pass some lessons along. So at Synity, we're about, a growing company, right? That's doing stuff in data that's unique and different, but yet at the same time, right, we're trying to also teach other people how to do what we do. And so it's that concept of everything goes full circle.
Yeah. And so just to kind of, and for everybody watching this, by the way, so we won't, we're not going to hit every one of these points because we do want you to pick up the book, right? I'm a publisher, I sell books, but we'll hit a couple of them, but I'll read them kind of broadly so you have a feel for the content and the context of the conversation. So, the title I already read, so Life and Business Lessons from a CEO and Data 7, and then some of the sections within that. So prioritization is critical, but balance is in the eye of the beholder. People are key to creating and sustaining success. Mentors matter, as Kevin just talked about. Have one, be one, and be sure to give back. Your toughest clients are your best clients, and then it's lonely at the top. So just to maybe kind of pick some of these apart a little bit more. So people are the key to creating and sustaining success. What do you hope your readers get from that part of the work?
Well, having grown up, as I mentioned in there, as a Six Sigma person and discipline and process, I had the pleasure of working for Ray Dalio, the legendary investment. And
wow.
He say for me, Kevin, it's about the who. And I the first 17 times he told that to me, I kept saying, what do you mean the who? And he said, you can put all those processes in place and you can do all that stuff, but the who is super important. And I learned from him to put back the balance on who's in the right job and do we have the people in the right job. That right on the people are there. And our objective as leaders, right? If you look at, so to speak, our mission, I would say my mission is to get people that work for me to do more than they think is possible, right? And if we do that, people did that for me. And I far exceeded the expectations of what a boy out of the Midwest, could have done and had exceeded. And my job is to empower them to be able to do that through a combination of, coaching, cajoling, and inspiring. So, again, the people are the core of the business. The people are the core, and getting them, when you have one of those moments. I had, two of my leaders presenting to a client recently, and it was one of those experiences where you're just like a dad. You're super proud, right? You're super proud and say, wow, these guys are amazing, right? And so that's why I go back to it's the people that matter, right? They're all different.
Yeah. And one of the things, just kind of bringing it to present day when we talk, and I love this thought process. And even on my team, like we're a smaller company. I never claim to have it all figured out. Not saying you claim to either, but I never do. And we're always thinking about new ways to look at problems and things and how to attack those and how to add value for our clientele. And I'm always like, we got the right people on board. We got the right people on board. We have to, work out and figure out some of the other things possibly that aren't, are maybe holding us back, or that next level, what that looks like. So that being said, for those that are out there that are maybe like, and obviously, different size of companies, different, industries, but right now there's all this stuff in the media. For context, we're recording this in August of 2023. So there's all this stuff in the media about, about people not wanting to work or not, we're all back to the work. Should we go to the office? Should we not? In that context, there's some leaders out there that'll watch this and they're like, well, I'm trying to get some of the right people. Like, what do you think are some of those ingredients that help get the right people on board?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. One is the pandemic changed, the landscape.
Yeah.
As we were talking earlier, it changed the landscape for all of us forever. So can't go back, got to go forward. And what I try to work with my team on is we got to reinvent the future, right? And, we went through the great resignation and, now we've got the great stay and with more economic headwinds that people aren't moving around. They moved around a lot. Now they aren't moving around. But what's important is, why do I stay where I stay? And what I got my team focused on is why. And I saw this the other day when some company said, we want all the people back to the office. And the people say, but you got to tell us why. What are we going to get out of being back to the office? We don't want platitudes. And so, what I'm challenging my HR and my leadership team with all the time is saying, why? And so not going back doesn't make any sense either, because you and I talked about what's the power of when we're in person and how great that feels. So the thing is, how do I keep experimenting with ideas and concepts to say, how do I give employees that wow moment when they're with their fellow employees, and whether they're having a slice of pizza or they're having a brainstorm session about something, and they say, wow, that was a really good day.
Yeah.
And to bring it back to my kids, I've got a daughter that's a second-year law student, right? And I'm, watching her. She finished her first internship and she's now interviewing for second years.
Wow.
And I'm listening and I get to translate and think about it from her perspective, because she's like, why do I have to go to the office, Dad? Right? Why do I have to do this? And so it just gives you another filter, right, to ask the people. But in the end of the day, you got to love what you do.
Yeah.
Dad said to me early on, try to find something you love. Keep working until you find something, because other than sleep, you're probably going to work more than you do anything else. So if you don't love it, that's a mistake.
And one of the things, as we've gotten to know each other, I had to bring up the sneakers. I had to bring them up. As we've gotten to know each other, I can see that you're not just saying these things. Like, even you're looking for moments of ways to improve culture, build on what's been built, and also just make people feel included, that their ideas are heard. So you got to say the sneaker example for me, because they're a big deal. And I'm telling you, you launched. I wanted to document this. You launched the Mission Matters sneakers, so thank you for that.
You're welcome. As we were chatting a little bit before, you can see the sneaker back there. And what happened was, we were talking about, we're getting ready to do a yearly show that we do with one of our big partners, and one of our product and engineering people, she said, hey, we always do shirts or, jerseys or pullovers or something like that. I got so many, it'll last me a lifetime. If we do something else. And she said, hey, how about if we do sneakers? Yeah. And it was a great idea. Now, at first we said, oh, we can't do that. That's crazy. How can you do that? But you know what? I got some super creative people on the team and they put it together. And, we got custom made sneakers. They've got our color on it. They've got our name on it. And we wore it, for this thing. And now it's caught on, right? And it's caught on, now I'm always not afraid to wear the brand and be the brand. And, at that show, I had to fly up to New York to give a talk, and I came back and I knew we had something when 17 people in the airport on the way back, including all the TSA agents, never say anything nice to you usually. Right? Said to me, I like your sneakers.
Wow.
So eye-catching, right? To be able to do that. And I was with a group of CEOs, and I told you, over the course of a weekend, every one of those CEOs said to me, I like your sneakers.
Wow.
Right? And so it's catchy, it's different, and it makes a statement. And it started from an idea from one person that we had. And then, other people riffed off of it and figured out, what they were going to do and how we were going to make it happen. And there's some great stories that are already coming out of it. And I told you I was in Europe, and now people are saying, how do I get those sneakers? So that's how you've made the next step, when they're saying, how do you get there? And, thanks to my team, we're doing, some sales contests. And, we had an all hands meeting recently, and the question in the chat was, how do I get some of those sneakers? What do I have to do to get those sneakers? So now it becomes a thing, right? So one suggestion, and but you got to be willing to have some bad ones to be able to say, oh, that was a shitty idea, right? We'll let that one go now, right? It's great. So
it's a great story, and I love you telling it because, well, first I wanted to document it, and I think it's hilarious, but I think it's a great idea. But second, like for the other leaders out there that'll watch this, it's kind of like the way I think of it is like being on the lookout, or just kind of like trying to figure out where I always feel in my organization, the next great idea is not going to come from me. Yeah. So I'm listening to the conversation, I'm listening to the chatter, I'm asking questions, and I'm just trying to listen, right?
Right. I know as a leader, your job, like I said, get people to do more than they think, but try to get those ideas to be able to come up. And sometimes, it requires that you challenge people and say, that's not a good idea. Or, well, I think here's the problem with that. And that's the thing still, most of us struggle as leaders to get that right balance between tell, do, and facilitate what's going on. So, and I'm a believer you need a strong hand to be able to do that.
Let's pull out another section of the book. So your toughest clients are your best clients. Now, that sounds nice. It's flowery when we're dealing with our toughest clients. Sometimes that's not the easiest thing, but like, why include this into your work and into the chapter?
Because I think it's one of those things that I learned early on, right? Because I always said, growing up in consulting and building systems, right? You always say, hey, I need that perfect client. It's really great work, and they agree with everything I say, right? And I get to do whatever I want to do. And, you've also got the nightmare clients that don't agree to anything. And so you're always finding that perfect client. And it was somewhere along the way where I said to myself, you know what, if I look at the clients I've had, the ones that I thought were perfect probably weren't perfect. Yeah. And the ones that where I learned the most, I ultimately had the most fun, where we created something that was new that people still talk about 10 years later, are these ones who push your thinking. And together, right? It sounds like consulting-ese, but together, that 1 + 1 equals the 3 or the 4 or the 5, right? It's that you push each other to do something. If you both could do it on your own, you don't need each other, right? And whether we're talking about mergers and acquisitions, or we're talking about, how to create, a new who's and whatcha for the company, we're trying to innovate something new. It happens when you put good minds together and they push each other. And so, again, I listed it as one of my 5 biggest lessons learned, right? During the time that we had there, that I've had, right? So far as CEO, is to say, hey, those are the clients that are super important.
Yeah. And I look back. So when I was reading this and I was kind of going through, I look back into my career, because I don't know, when I'm reading a book, whether it's ours or someone else's, I tend to kind of project my life and my experiences on it to kind of like test it. I mean, that's the way I digest information. So when I was looking back in my career, like I even went back to the earlier days when I was back when I was in financial advisor and in finance, and I was like, the ones that were kind of like my thorns, like they always pushed me to get better, always. And then as I got further and further, and now even in media, things like that, like even the fact that we're doing this interview by video was based off of, some of our authors and other individuals saying, Adam, audio's good, but we want to do video. And I'm like, video's hard, video's a pain, like blah, blah, blah. But kept pushing. And so when I look at a lot of our progress and progression, it's always from the clients that speak up wanting a little bit more. And it's a good thing. I feel like our products have gotten better, and throughout my entire course of just my career, I feel like it's upped my game, it ups my team's game, and we look at kind of like requests and things like that in another light. Like, first, is it feasible? Does it make sense? Like, can it be like, is it going to actually get the objective they want, right? You can't give out everything all the time, but I love this piece of it, because I'm hoping too that people that are, watching this, it really start thinking and taking that feedback or whatever it is that may make that client a little bit more tricky, we'll say, to see if that trickiness, if you can satisfy that, does that help lift everyone up? Like, that's the goal.
And the thing I would add on there, I'm working on back to, on my kids, because I'm always trying to translate these lessons to them. And, one of my mentors said to me, we all get to the end of the day or usually the end of the week, right? And we're frustrated, right? And, or tired, or we had a bad week, and you start complaining. It's human nature, right? Yeah. We start complaining. And one of my mentors said to me, listen, always when you say, I don't like this, say, I get to do this. If you feel the same way.
Yeah.
Right. And I think all of us don't think enough about all the things we get to do. And when I think about those toughest clients, when I complained about those toughest clients, now I get to work with those clients and that my attitude changes.
Yeah.
Right. So instead of that math test that I have to do, or that really tough client I'm going to talk to today, say I get to, and see if that helps you.
I get to do these video interviews. Come on, Kevin. Part of this show's therapy for me. Thank you. I get to do video.
Right. That's exactly right. And
absolutely. It's honestly become, and all joking aside, it's actually become one of my favorite things now, is to get on these interviews and do the video. The beginning, it was a new skill set. It was something else, I had to develop and learn, but now it's my favorite part of the week. I'm like, I get to do these. So I'm thankful for that. I'm going to pull out one other section from the book here. It's lonely at the top. Like, what do you mean by this?
Well, whenever I say that, people are like, wah, 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 right? It's lonely. But in the end, right, I think it's one of the things that being a CEO, that not enough people, or at least for me, not enough people told you, right? Because it's a privilege, right, to be there. It's a privilege to lead your company and all the other stuff. But nobody prepares you for the fact that there's some decisions that you can ask advice from a lot of people, but you got to make it yourself.
Yeah.
And I saw a great clip the other day by Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart is the head coach of the two-time back-to-back world champion Georgia Bulldogs. So I got to put a little push in there for my Georgia Bulldogs.
Yeah.
He said, everybody talks about leadership, and there's books you can read on leadership and stuff. And he said, nobody wants to tell you about the price of leadership. And he said, the price of leadership is not everybody's going to like you.
Yeah.
Right. Second thing is you have to make decisions that are unpopular. Third thing is you got to make decisions where the evidence isn't clear and you're going to feel uncomfortable. And the lonely at the top, I say, because I wish everybody would know that and acknowledge it. And I've had other CEOs say to me, thanks for saying that, right?
Yeah.
I feel lonely, right? And then I talk a little bit about what are the things that I've found that are helpful to me, right? Having a coach, right? Or two, having mentors. So it ties back. Those are things that when you get really lonely at the top, you got to make sure that you're going forward and you're making sure that you're getting that perspective and you're trading off, and you understand that all decisions aren't easy decisions, right? But
and that's why a lot of those, I didn't realize this earlier in my career, but that's why a lot of those CEO groups exist, right? Like the EOs and like the YPOs and all of the different groups, is because, those, I guess that shared those common experiences and individuals, not only to learn from each other, but to have built camaraderie and community around that, right?
Right. And if we think about it, we've got boards of directors that can help give us advice, right, along the way. But we need some times where we can just vent, right? And just say, man, I'm like in a tough spot, right? And things are there. And we don't expect sympathy, but it's human nature that's how you ride through all of the emotions. I'm sure, when the pandemic hit, you had to have had some moments where you said, because all of the rest of us did, oh man, what's this mean for my business? Will it ever be the same? Will it not be there? and sharing that with other people makes a big difference.
Well, as we close this out, I wanna maybe go a little bit further into Synity, just so we so people know exactly what you do, and also a call to action if people want to learn more. So maybe tell us a little bit more and how people can really connect with the company and just get more information.
Yeah, so Synity, we're about data, right? And we do the hardest data work for the world's biggest companies, right? That's what we're all about. And when you talk about data, it's migration, moving to the cloud, moving to new versions of systems, consolidating because of M&A. That's a big piece of what we do. It's data quality. I thought when you were talking before, you might say, Chat GPI, right? Or it's going to change and revolutionize the world. Well, we've had a ton of hype cycles, and they go up and they go down.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, if you want the goodies, you got to pay the price of having the quality data. And that's why that's important. And governance, who does what, right, in the company. So if you have any issues, first of all, I tell people every problem is a data problem, right? So, call us and we'll talk to you about your problems and what you can do. But also, if you have big, complex, you created a data lake, which is a common term, and it turned into a data swamp, right? How do you fix that? How do you get that? And what you get with Synity is a point of view, and people it's all we do is data. A lot of people do data as part of something else, but we're a built for purpose data company, and that's what makes us unique. And you can go out to www.synity.com, right, and go look us up and look at what's there. You can also, I'm Kevin Campbell at synity.com. You can email me anytime, and I will always respond to you and get back to you about what's there. So again, things have never been more exciting for us at our company. And yes, there's headwinds in the market and there's lots of reasons to gripe, but data is more important than ever. One of my teammates says we were in data before data was cool.
Yeah.
And I love that, right? Because now data's cool. And so you get to hang out with the cool kids, right?
Yeah.
To be able to do that. So it's great. So happy to talk to anybody, happy to answer your questions. And thanks, Adam, again, for having me on.
Oh man, always a pleasure, seriously, collaborating with you, and a lot of fun promoting this book. And I know we're just getting started, a whole lot more content coming out around the book, around your story, around all of our authors' stories. So excited to have you be part of this project. So again, thank you. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. Hope you learned a lot. I sure did. If you did, don't forget, hit that subscribe button. We have many more mission-based individuals coming up on the line, and we don't want you to miss a thing. Kevin, as always, pleasure collaborating with you, man. Can't wait till the next time we get to do this.
All right. Thanks for having me. I really enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to the next time too. And, the book's a pretty good book, so it came together.